Meleika, stop telling me what to do. Because we back in the studio together. Now you want to boss me around. Oh, my goodness.
Wow, it's been a minute since we've been remote.
You know what? You think because we got a black Supreme Court judge, you could just push me around. I don't know.
Black women, we are doing it,
Well,
I must say.
Well, congratulations, black women. I'm excited for America.
I am, too. I am.
This is Chicago Hill.
It's speaking volumes that, we got first vice president black woman, first black woman to the Supreme Court. I mean, Joe Biden, he's fulfilling some promises. I know people are like being hard on him, but he's actually he's making some moves.
Oh, you black women in love with Joe Biden. I didn't bring up Joe Biden. We talking about black women, and you talking about the white man.
No.
Come on, Meleika. Well, come on, let's stay on the black women. That's just all right. Let's give Joe Biden, President Joe Biden. Let's give Joe Biden, Joe Biden. Joe Biden. This is for you.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of hits, but he is putting some amazing, powerful women out there in power positions, and they deserve it. They've earned it, most definitely.
Yeah,
very qualified.
You know what? You think he's trying to tell Barack Obama, see what I'm doing? He like, see, I got me a black vice president. I got me a black woman Supreme Court justice. I signed Juneteenth. I did that. But, you know what Barack should tell him?
What?
Thank you. I got the Affordable Care Act.
And I am so grateful for that. Obama, if you are listening, thank you for Obamacare. Thank you.
This is Chicago Hill.
Yes.
Barack Obama is helping heal the nation.
Yes, he is.
And if there were no Barack Obama, guess what? There would be no Joe Biden in the White House.
That is true.
He made it possible for Joe Biden to step into that role as the president today.
I feel like Joe Biden is I think the baton was passed to him for things that Barack couldn't get done, that he was fighting to get done but couldn't get done during his terms. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and you know what's amazing about it, Meleika? They want to. I always hear people talk about how if it wasn't for Joe Biden, Obama wouldn't have been able to maneuver in Washington because, he was black and Joe Biden had this institutional knowledge and respect. Well, Joe Biden is taking a beating from a lot of people right now, so I don't think that that's true. Right. I think Obama did his thing. He did, And so because of Obama, we should think that Obama had something to do with Jackson, even though he didn't make the appointment. Thank you, Barack Obama. Let's give it up for Barack Obama, too, on Chicago Hill. All right. Now, this is Chicago Hill. I'm LaShawn Ford.
Meleika Gardner.
And we got Brother Revin Fellows. What's up, Brother Revin Fellows? Yay. So, Brother Revin?
Is Revin on?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
There he is.
Yeah, I'm up at the Fleetwood, Evanston system. I'm at the Fleetwood place. My son is in a competition here. He's created a pinball machine, so they're doing electronic competition. So I'm up watching him and listening to you because I'm trying to heal. I'm watching my son do some great things. It's an honor to be in Evanston.
Oh, wow. I don't
That's
think
why
I
I'm
knew
not in
that
the
was
office
even
with
going
you
on.
guys today. I'm doing two things at once, Chicago Hill and spending time with my son so we can heal.
Let me tell you something, Brother Revin, and all of the fathers and mothers out there, if you want some healing, if you got some children, if you got kids in your life, they'll help you heal. Do something good for the children, and it's automatic. How you feeling being with your son?
Man, it's awesome. He's coming into his own. He's in a size 13 shoe now at 10 years old. We're going to be out a whole lot of money. but it's great to see his technology skills kick in, and his basketball, he's getting tall. So it's just an honor. They're setting up, and so I'm going to be with you guys until they kick it off. But I'm in Chicago next to my old agency rep, Family Focus Lawndale, which I retired from. I'm now over here next to Family Focus Evanston. So it's good to be in Chicago presence and trying to heal the day.
But I need you to answer the question that I asked you so that the people could feel it. How does it feel to be in the presence of your young son? What's the feeling that you get when you get to watch him develop and grow and
he invented something.
And he's inventing something.
That's awesome.
Man, well, I'm a basketball player, so to see him in the technology world is a blessing. It ain't about basketball. It's about science. And I watched him today, this morning. I got here earlier and watched him finish off his project. They have about 16 black engineers from one of the colleges, I think it's Western or Northwestern. They've been working with these students, so the final project. But just to be, my son's birthday is July 3rd, and mine's July 2nd. And it's Revin Lee, and I'm Revin. So just to watch him grow and develop and grow overnight and watch him just come out of the shell, because he used to be quiet, and now he's talking, man, it just makes me feel good. It's my DNA, and I'll leave a hell of a legacy because he's going to be a great young man, his character, and I'm looking forward to great things as he grows forward, man. But it does my heart well to look at him, and he's a good son. He's not in trouble, doing great things. So, Rep, just ask the question. I just feel blacknificent with my blacknificent son.
That's awesome. Right. And that's the message. If you got a son, a daughter, you know what? It will give you some healing just to be with them.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Amen.
Yeah. So, Brother Revin, we got a show lined up today with retired Chicago police. I think he was a commander, and he also was a chief of police in the suburbs. And it's Mr. Winters. Mr. Winters, you with us? He was also, Eddie, are you with us?
Eddie Winters.
And
can you hear me?
Yeah, he also was a state representative. I got to know him well as a state representative. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, tell us again. I probably messed up your titles, but were you a commander or rank and file police officer when you were CPD?
CPD, I was a lieutenant. I retired from CPD as a lieutenant.
Okay, what's the ranking for all our listeners when you get into the Chicago Police Department? What's the rankings?
Okay, so ranking would start off your first introduction, or your first step into supervision would be the sergeant, and then after the sergeant you have lieutenant. After lieutenant, then there will be captain, commander, then there's deputy chief. And then you have superintendent. Okay.
So that's when you get more and more stars.
Yes. Once you make that deputy chief, and that's when the stars start coming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good.
So, Mr. Winters, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you just got back in the country, and I love that he was still wanting to do the show. I was like, you got to be tired. Just coming back into the country. But he literally just got back. So, Mr. Winters, thank you so much for joining us today. And, I told you what we will be talking about, and you're the ideal person to give us some insight into, there's these reports that homicides are on the decline here in Chicago and crime is on the rise. But I swear, when I listen to the news, crime is definitely on the rise with the smash and grab and the carjacking, but the homicides, it doesn't sound like it's on the decline.
So they claim that homicides are down, and where they're really fudging the numbers, Meleika, is they're saying that the actual solve rate is improved. They're solving more murders in the city of Chicago. And so that's been challenged by a number of people that don't believe that Chicago's solve rate has improved. What do you think, Eddie?
My thoughts are several. First, when you start, addressing or just start looking at, if there are rise in homicides or if there's a decline or, is that true or is it false? Are they fudging the numbers? My thoughts are several. First, the numbers, I haven't followed them, but I'll say, how do you feel? Do you feel safe about that? And about the notion that the numbers have declined. And as it relates to the numbers, I'd be more so interested in more of an approach at looking at in what particular areas of the city are we talking about as far as these declines. So it boils down to, numbers on live, but how are you using those numbers? But people do. So I'm not exactly sure how they come up with it, but all I can, address is how do I feel about it?
Yeah.
And, the portions of the city that are most impacted.
Yeah. Well, this is WVON, iHeart Radio, 773-591-1690. This is Chicago Hill. I'm LaShawn Ford.
Meleika Gardner.
And
Revin Fellows.
So, let me ask you a question. When it comes down to solving murders and cases of violence and just acts against people, you got to have trust from the people. And if you don't have the trust, then you're not going to get the help to solve these crimes. What can
Right.
Chicago PD and police across the country do to gain the trust and confidence of the community?
More community engagement. And what I mean by that is not to just generally throw it out there. We need to engage more with our residents, but the police department has to be representative and reflective of the community in which these areas are most needed. And in doing that, you have to really integrate yourself into these communities. You have to know who the real communities are. You have to know what block clubs exist. You have to know about the different community organizations. And I would say those would be really good starts. And not just knowing that they exist, but really, truly investing in those different institutions that lie within each community. Yeah. Chicago is, neighborhood, block by block and neighborhood by neighborhood type of town. And so getting really, really invested in these communities, I think is really would be a huge start.
Yeah.
I know in Evanston they were really pushing for police officers to get out of their cars and what do you call it? Foot officers, actually walk around the community and get to know the business owners and the residents as opposed to just, riding around in the car. Do you find that there's a difference when the police officers are actually on foot throughout the community instead of riding around?
Actually, absolutely. Because, over the course of my career, I've actually had an opportunity to be a foot officer as well. And once you're out on foot, you're actually able to see things that you and I, see as you're driving by. You wouldn't necessarily you have a better interaction with folks. And people will come up and talk to you. They will engage you a little bit more if you're accessible to them. I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, Revin, you know all about foot patrol and community policing. Have you seen that work in communities, Revin?
I've saw it. Not really fully successful on 79th. We have the Bob Benson district. It worked for a little while, and then it's off and on. It's a very touchy situation. But I think the problem is there's not consistency, because you'll see it there for a little short time with propaganda, and then it disappears and it comes back. So I think that's one of the inconsistencies that create the non-building relationships. And they're moving officers around so much inconsistently from district to district. It's creating that non-trust because they really don't get to know the community that well. So I don't think it's been my experience of seeing successful, but it is a model that should work. I just want to give a shout-out to Commander Watts in the 3rd District over on 71st Street in Cottage Grove, where yesterday his department and the officers were at Gary Coleman's school. And as you saw, they've been working closely with the block clubs and Operation Safe Neighborhoods with our brother Sam Benyon, and we went over there with the Untouchables and Chicago Peace Initiative, and we went out there. There's some rumors there was going to be some issues. So the police and the community and the block clubs and the men groups and organization, we were there in full force, loving on the black children, loving on the young girls and ladies, and loving on the gas station which nearby. And we can report there was no incidents leaving school for spring break when it was rumored. So I think that is a model that's used. He's also is doing some calls with black men, Rep. We definitely want to invite you because you're doing some things around the violence. We had a Zoom call with the commander and black men talking to the police officer on a Zoom call. What does the relationship look like? It's a series for black men and police officers in that community. So I've seen a good energy in Grand Crossing, but it should be mimicked. But the inconsistency of on the ground should keep them there long enough to build a relationship. Would be my response.
And Mr. Winters, you know how people are saying that they believe the numbers might be fudged. I know in certain parts, Evanston being one, we had people in the community who felt like, you know, Evanston wasn't reporting shootings because Evanston really wants to bring in more money into the city. So if people are hearing that there's shootings going on in Evanston, then people aren't going to enroll in Northwestern. They're not going to move. It's going to affect property value. You know, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that you have to be transparent. So to not report shootings, that shows a lack of transparency. But I find it kind of hard to believe that that administration that they would not report those. Now, how does it make a person feel? Again, it comes down to how do you feel. And if folks are talking in the community, I can't say that I've seen the correlation between not reporting it and how it would impact the property values. If you have these different community groups and different, you have social media now, and so through social media, a lot is being, reported unofficially. A lot of the official reports and the unofficial reports are getting reported through social media. And, if that's what the perception is, I think the perception is going to something more than not, prevail as opposed to what's being reported at the city level.
Yeah, because I know I've called. I'm like, I heard gunshot, and it could be in February, and they're like, oh no, those are firecrackers.
Yeah.
I was like, it's February, and then you'll see people on social media like, living in my area, like, yeah, I heard it too. It's off in the distance. It sounded like it was southeast or something, but the police will be like, no.
Yeah, they got those shot spotters, and they pretty much could detect whether or not they're. I will give it to police on one thing. If you say that they have guns and they're shots, they come running. Now I've seen that firsthand. When it's gunshots, I would give it to the police because sometimes communities call and say guns, and that's how they get them there. And so let's go to Sister D. Sister D, you're on Chicago Hill. This is Shawn Ford, Meleika, and Revin, fellows, and we got a special guest, Eddie Winters.
Yes. God bless you. Good afternoon, my brothers. Brother Eddie, LaShawn, and Revin. I am familiar with all three of you brothers, but I want to share this with you when it comes to Chicago police in our city of Chicago. I would like to say that, number one, we do not have enough visibility of our community going out to the board meetings every month. They have a police board meeting every month for many, many years. That room is always vacant with community residents. Also, with the CAP meetings that we have, I was one of the first CAP meeting person that when CAP first started many years ago. But still, we don't have enough of community involvement in that. But what I will say, as the sister just said, we do need to get them out of the cars and get them on feet or bike. I do say this about the Chicago Police Department. We have good and bad in everything. And I know many people that work on the police force, and I'm involved as far as, just being more like a friendly. I say that we should go back, and it maybe everyone may not agree. We should go back to the officer-friendly thing that they used to have back in the 60s when we were in grade school. And then we also will say this, our sergeants and commanders, with our sergeants, because commanders are normally in the office, but our sergeants, we need more of them, the white shirts. I would say the white shirts. We need more visibility of the white shirts. I would say this. I've learned that the white shirts, I don't know if it's because they have much more experience, but they are more involved. They are more easy to get along with. They are more interested in what's going on in the community. The white shirts are more than the blue shirts. And
you know what? Just pause there. We want to keep you there, but let's let Officer Winters come in, and because you made a comment, and so maybe he can answer your questions about the colors of the shirts, and that's pretty good for the community to know. Mr. Winters?
Okay.
Yes, the white shirts, yes, those would be the sergeants, the ones that you would probably have first contact with, and then after that would be the lieutenants. The sergeants are the ones with the stripes on the shirts. So they're directly responsible for the officers in the blue shirts. And then their supervisors would be the lieutenants. And the lieutenants are basically responsible for all the field operations out there in the field. So they're monitoring the sergeants. And so that's pretty much the pecking order when you're out in the field, and that's who you're looking at. It's more than likely it would be the sergeant.
Yeah. Would you like to respond, Sister D, so we can go to the next caller?
Well, I just wanted to ask Mr. Eddie Winters. I know that you've been in this field for many years. Can you give the community just something real brief of how do you think we as the public should handle our police officers when it comes to any type of criminal activities or anything where we're being addressed or stopped or pulled over, or we're in conversation with police officers on our community streets?
Thank you, Sister D. And we'll take that question right to Eddie. Eddie?
Okay. Well, thank you for asking that question. So, again, it comes down to community engagement. It comes down to getting to know who your beat officers are. And as Revin had mentioned earlier, consistency in having specific officers on particular beats, that makes a huge difference. When I was a beat officer, I knew everyone on my beat from one end of it to the other. And so whenever issues happened, I was there to respond to them. And also, even on my days off, when I would return back to work, residents that I knew, they would reach out to me and they would give me a bit of information. And information sometimes, if it was a part of a big crime, I could either make the arrest myself or I would pass it on to detectives. So I think that's one big thing that we can do. The other one is, like you said, you have to start coming to the community, the community policing meetings. That is one way to get to know who these supervisors are as well as the officers that would be patrolling your beats. The community, but building that trust is a huge part of it, but we have to meet halfway.
Yeah.
Mr. Winters, I have a question. Speaking of when you said you were like on your days off, you'd be in the area. What are your thoughts on whether or not a police officer should live in the neighborhood that he patrols or live outside, in a total other suburb or, Yeah,
that's a good question.
What are your thoughts on that? It's a huge debate.
Yeah. Could it be dangerous?
It's a huge debate.
That's Meleika's question.
It can be dangerous. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's Meleika's question, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. I think you have people, like even said to myself, when you're spending, let's say, if you're there 8 hours, 8 out of 24, you're spending that portion of your life there in that community, living in it. And if you're invested and you're consistently working this particular beat, is not going to make much of a difference whether you live there or not, because you're already vested there. You have consistently worked these particular areas. You know everybody. You know the residents. You know the seniors, the kids, the merchants. So it won't make that big of a difference there. On the other side of that, it could be a dangerous situation. You make an arrest of someone that, especially in these days and times, it could be really, really dangerous. And so, again, you have to, I guess you could look at the numbers there just to see the attacks or assaults on police officers these days. Those are on a rise like never before. So I would, that condition right there, I wouldn't say that I'd be in support of that.
Yeah.
Actually, I would not be in support of that.
Right. You arrest my son, I'm going to knock on your door and say, you arrested my son. Winners, let us go to some callers. Wow. Now let's Revin, did you have a response?
No, I just want to say that and he's absolutely right. But one of the things I think, I grew up in Chatham, and the police, the doctors, the lawyers, everybody was in one community. I think at some point they allowed the officers to move out because, like Brother Winters, I've heard good reviews about his relationship with community. But if a guy grows up there in the community, is respected, and becomes an older gentleman, a mentor, it's a little different. But they begin to let the officers move out and then leave, and it's become unfriendly now. But I think we have to look at it closer, because if you grow up in that community and you're a good brother or doing good work or being a fair officer, I don't think the energy is perpetrated that way. And then we have some officers misusing the officer in the neighborhood. They get a discount for living in the neighborhood, and they actually lived out the neighborhood and didn't live in the place that they were using for mortgage and taxes. So, again, I say we're at a crossroads that we need to be having discussions on this, and I think what they're doing over in 3rd District is talking to the community, especially black men, of what's needed. Because at one point when I was down in CHA, I'm not in the police, but my cousin is a CPD police officer. They did basketball. They had tournaments. So the officers would play over at Lincoln Center, play basketball against the young men in Washington Park. And so that developed another relationship, watching them, play ball, that the officer is just as human and just as a person that like we are in the community. So I think we get back to some of that basketball and community relationship. And then some of the officers need to be not always in uniform. That's intimidating to the community. So there has to be a place where, they can still have their gun, but that uniforms it's become a real situation with the Black Lives Matter. But that's what I would say.
We have 2 clips, but first we're going to take these calls. We got a clip. One clip from talking about the violence in Chicago. We're going to play that one first. Then we have a clip where I went to Cook County Jail, and I want Officer Winters to hear that one too, because it talks about trying to build trust. Let's go to our callers. Jay, you're on Chicago Hill with LaShawn Ford, Meleika, Gardner, and Revin Fellows, and our special guest, Officer Winters.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. First of all, I think it's absolutely necessary for cops to live in the area, to live in Chicago, probably in the area where they're working, Stop talking about this scared stuff, and some of these cops, this cop, he's retired, right?
Mr. Winters is retired, and let me just say that one of the things that's most important that he said, that we can have it both ways, that if you have consistency, as Revin Fellows said, he validated the consistency of having a cop in there that knows the family, and will spend a bunch of time in that community, and it'd be as if it's his second home. But go ahead, Jay, and finish your statement.
Yeah, when you have a cop in the neighborhood that they patrol, it helps. I think I've heard them say that a cop's presence, can keep down crime. Mm-hmm. So that's an issue that we should concern ourselves with when we pay our tax dollars to them, and they're getting these good pensions, they're getting these good paychecks. There's multiple things we should consider when we deal with these cops.
Yeah. Well, Jay, we got to move on. You want to give us a closing?
I'm just going to close with that.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. Let's go to James. James, you're on Chicago Hill.
You got me, brother?
Yes, James, you're on. You're live.
With all due respect, our illustrious guest is a cruel joke. He's been made. He's systematic. Wait a minute. You think these psychopaths that's terrorizing the planet in space, you think they can't do good policing? Please.
All right. Let's go to Chris. You're on Chicago Hill.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
My thing is, I'm not anti-police. I'm anti-bad police. I think we need to clean up some of the situations in the negotiation with the FOP. They became very, what do you call it? Kind of like, like how the GOP is running, like that. And also, I think it's a false statement to say officers fear for their life or whatever, because what I do, I work in. Sometimes I go to Mount Greenwood, and I have no problem seeing police cars parked in their driveway, and also fire department people. Also in Edison Park on the north side, which is west of Toohey, you see police cars, undercover vehicles by Midway. So I think that's false.
Well, I would say, Chris, I would say that they're working in Austin and they're working in Inglewood, but they park in Mount Greenwood. That's where they live. But but I'm saying that vehicle there would represent, this person might be a police officer or whatever. Chris, hold that thought right there. Let me ask Officer Winters, why don't we see Chicago police officers driving their cars home and parking them on their blocks? I never see that in Chicago.
Well, it depends on where you live.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say Chicago. I never see that on the west side or the south side, Inglewood line,
Well, maybe. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And also, there's a game that they play with the zip code 60707. 60707. It represents Chicago. It represents Chicago. It represents Inwood Park and two other places. So, you can say you live in the city. You can say But I see all the time, and like I said, I work in all those areas, and it just behooves me. You go to Inglewood, you never see that. You go on the west side, you never see police presence car there, and fire department, like cars, personnel, the Ford Explorer and stuff like that, and it just scratches. I just they have a more community connection, and I don't see a fear of me parking my vehicle there and I'm gonna be attacked for the blue. But like I said, I'm not anti-police. I'm anti-bad police, and there's a lot of bad police that give good police a bad name.
Like in every profession. Thank you so much, Chris. We don't mean to cut you off. We have to, we got to get some more black police on the force. I think that, the numbers may be a little off, but the last I checked, it was like 25% Hispanic, 20% white. I'm sorry, 20% black, and the half of the police department is white. And so that's a problem. I think one of the things that the mayor should do is start a major campaign to increase the number of black police officers on the Chicago police force. Would that make a difference? Would you think that make a difference, Officer Winters?
Oh, yes. Yes, I most certainly do. I think, again, as I started out saying, if the city is a little bit more reflective, if the department is more reflective of the city, I think that it would be a good start.
Yeah.
Even as we talk about where folks live, if those ranks and in those units, whereas they have those take-home cars, it's more, I guess you could see it a little bit more because a lot of those officers, they do live in those areas. I pretty much have lived and worked in the areas that I've policed in. So, my situation is a little bit unique. So I can speak to when we talk about policing officers living in their communities, but I also know of situations where some officers have been threatened, So it's a double-edged sword.
Well, we're going to cut to one clip. We're not going to play the clip that we're going to play the second clip when I went to visit some young men in Cook County Jail, and it's amazing what you're going to hear. It's a 2-minute clip. Stand by. Check it out.
We need to protest because the system messed up. Like, I ain't gonna lie, you got people some people being charged for stuff they ain't never did. Yeah. We can't talk at court. They not going by laws. Like, we just basically taking time for stuff that we wasting our life. We can't get jobs now when we get out. We can, but it's not the job we looking for. But it's like we can't talk in front of the judge. The judge, like, I don't know. It's like we guilty already. We supposed to be innocent to prove guilty instead of being guilty until we prove innocent. But it's the other way around.
System not right. Yeah. I think somebody else said. I heard y'all. Yeah, you said it. Yeah, go ahead. Because they didn't hear you. About a lot of people.
Like, we need to change the stuff around because certain police officers be putting cases on us for something we didn't do, you know? So it's like we'll come to jail, they won't let us speak about certain stuff, so the state attorney be going whatever the police say. So it's like we'll be in here for a long time, for like 2-3 years to hear a motion, and we won't be able to hear our motion because we need the police to be there, but they saying the police.
They said they had. They said we did. Like, y'all ain't got that.
So I'm just saying, you say the police didn't. They do. Are you sure they be putting cases on people?
Not everybody. Not everybody.
Okay, you do it.
Yeah, a lot.
All right.
Putting cases on people.
What do you say about that? They putting cases on people. You know, and one of the things I have to tell you, Officer Winters and Meleika and Revin and our listeners, the gentleman that's in Cook County Jail said, if we do the crime, we expect to pay the time, but just don't put cases on us for something we didn't do. This is where we go into a problem of building trust with the community because police rush to judgment. They want to close cases, and they put cases on people that might have a past background. They just go straight to them and put cases on. They told me that some of them have been in jail for 2, 3, 4, 5 years in Cook County Jail for something that they swear they didn't do, but the police put cases on them. Let's go to our caller before we get to Winters. We got Ken. You on Chicago Hill? Ken, you on Chicago Hill? You on the air?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry with the delay there. I was I heard the two clips now, but I was referring to the previous conversation about whether or not the police should live in the neighborhood.
Oh, go right ahead.
And I just want to.
It's your time.
Okay, and I'm sorry if I backtrack a little bit there, but I just wanted to use an equivalence with teachers, for example. We're doing before integration. And I hate to go back that far. But we were all of the black professionals lived in the same community, whether they were doctors, etc. Just like Brother Revin said. So if we treat the police as we do the teachers, for example, the parents, if there's a problem with the student, the parent will go in and they will partner with the teacher and try to figure out what's best for the student. So if we take that same approach at the police, if the police could be part of our community. They're role models. We can look up to them as growing up kids. We see them as professionals going to work every day. And if we could partner with them as parents and say, what's the problem with our kids? Let's work these things out before we have to do incarceration and all those other things.
Yeah, so they do that.
It's just a mindset.
Ken, let me tell you, you're right, because some of the things that the young people are put into the system for are situations that if we had strong community policing, the actual officer that's walking the beat would take the kid home instead of jail.
Yeah, yeah. I want to use a personal example because my grandfather, my uncles, were all policemen. I dated a girl once, and I found out her dad was a police captain. My behavior was totally different toward her. So, when I went to knock on her door to ask for a date, when he said bring her home by 12, she was home by 12.
Hey, man.
That's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
If there would have been a problem, he wouldn't have arrested me. He would have just smacked me upside the head and taken me to my father, and my father would have smacked me in the head. Yeah. That's all.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you, Ken, for the call. We're going to go to Brother Hall. That rhymes.
We love the police, though. We do.
Yeah.
We need them.
We do need them.
Thank you, Ken.
Bye-bye. Brother Hall, you're on Chicago Hill. LaShawn Ford. We are live in the studio, Meleika.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, LaShawn.
Yeah.
Listen, let me just say this right quick. And many of your guests, I'm sure Revis probably remember this. Man, we remember when the 3rd Ward was probably one of the best police departments in Chicago.
Tell us that, Ward. Tell us the
The 3rd Ward
demographics.
would represent 75th in Maryland, up and all around there in that particular Grand Crossing area. And the reason why is because of what you guys just said. They had their ear to the ground of the community. You had a youth officer named Officer Julius Frazier. If he told you to meet me at the police station, that's what you did. And the reason why, because he had a relationship with the parents. See, we don't have those type of relationships anymore. Now, I want to thank Chris for kind of being spot on his analysis on what he was saying. We're not anti-police, but we want to see good police stand up and call out bad policemen. Mm-hmm. And when we don't do that, brother, then you're part of the problem as well. And then let's look at our community. We need to do more as well. We need to do more. I think the best thing that ever came out was a camera, was a phone camera.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Oh, yes.
I saw a policeman one time, and I'll say this and I'll let you guys go. My wife and I was running down 57, 56, and Racine. Was it 56? Yeah, 56 and Racine, I believe it is, over there by the park. And here we pull up to that 4-way stop sign, and here's the police telling, I want all you ends off the corner.
Oh.
When I hit the block, you ends better be off this corner. These are 2 white young police officers with their plate pulled down in an unmarked car. So what I'm saying is that we need to, when we recognize and see people misusing our community, who do we go to? That's what we need to know. The way it's controlled now, the narrative appears is that the FOP is running the narrative and that everybody is pro-police but anti-community.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you so very much. And I think that we have some questions that we need answered from winners. One, what about the question that we heard from our caller, Brother Hall? Who do you go to? And what do you think about those young men that's in county jail saying that police are just putting cases on them?
Okay. All right, I'll start with the last one. So who do we go to? There's several things that can be done. First, you need to call for a sergeant because now in each of these vehicles, they're GPS. So the supervisors pretty much can tell you where these cars were, at what time, when and where. And so, therefore, they'll be able to identify those officers that would have been there. So a sergeant. Then you can also call COPA. That's the oversight organization that handles complaints against the police. So those are 2 that should be 2 steps that should be taken. Now, when we talk about these cases as being put on people that are locked up, I'd say at this time that this is where you would need to bring in someone from the county to discuss these issues. When you're talking about the state's attorney's office, to talk about cases that could possibly be, falsely placed on individuals that they have locked up.
Yeah, you're right.
The county.
And that's why Kim Fox, State's Attorney Kim Fox, she says some of these cases she's just not going to even allow, and she's not going to even try them because she believes some of them are bogus.
Mm-hmm. What are the repercussions for a good police officer telling on a bad police officer?
You saw Training Day.
Yes.
Yeah, that's real.
When you talk about the repercussions, nowadays, because officers are being charged, for wrongdoing, you have less and less officers that are willing to stick their neck out, knowing that they have a family and other responsibilities for another officer that's gone rogue or that is rogue. Oftentimes, you'll find that a lot of, complaints have been filed on those officers, and there's a lot of follow-up, So you do have that. That does happen. It happens a lot more than you probably know and probably realize.
Yeah, we got a case.
Maybe, but not enough. But it can never be enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. We got to take some calls. They've been holding. I think we got Sal. You're on Chicago Hill with Shawn Ford, Meleika Gardner, Revin Fellows, and our special guest, Eddie Winters.
Thank you very much. You know, you talked about the fact that at one time we all lived together, the rich and the poor, the professionals, the non-professionals. We all lived in the same neighborhood community. We knew each other. But we weren't necessarily living together like that out of love. We were living together because we were being forced to stay in a certain geographical area. Following the 1968 Housing Act, when the FHA mortgages became available to black folk, we took off from us and left and went somewhere else.
Well, so I tell you, so forced integration and was where we were at. Thank you, Sal. We're running out of time. You want to give us a quick closing?
Yes, you can come and join us on April 23rd at the DeZabo Museum.
We're going to call us back for that, give that announcement. We lost you. Let's go to Karen. Karen, you're on Chicago Hill. We're at about 3 minutes. We got to make sure we get Eddie.
Let me just say this right quick. We keep talking about how we were yesterday. I was in a polka dot bikini yesterday. Let's keep it real. This needs new things. And even with the lazy day says the gentleman is talking, come on, you all. It's going to take our black men standing up, and we take our communities and take back our communities. We are truly asking some stupid questions, and this is what I feel, because we're asking a system that has never, will never be for us to look out for us. When we get up off our tails as men and women and govern and clean our own communities, then we will see a difference in our community. We can't use what was yesterday. Yes, we knew Officer Friendly and all that. Those days are gone. It's time to do something new.
Karen, I want to engage you.
A new idea beats an old idea. Okay?
I want to engage you right there before you hang up. I know we only have a few minutes now. Karen, here's what I would tell you. I think you're 100% right. My mother's 83, and she's cleaning the whole block. She does that. But she's also a taxpayer. And I do believe that we still must demand that the city of Chicago keep us safe and keep us clean, keep our streets free.
Shawn, that goes without saying, but we do more talking than we do walking. I clean up everywhere I go. I train girls to sew on the machine. I mentor, but we do a lot of talking and we don't do no walking. And let's be real, we have become pass-throughs. So because we're pass-throughs, all of our resources have been passed to other nationalities. Let's quit pretending like we don't know what's happening.
Let's give your close. You want to give a number that people could reach you so that you can mentor?
708-374-4038.
Thank you.
708-374-4038. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give Revin a closing. Revin.
Hey, I'm like let's do action. Chicago, we just got to come together, black men. So we brought 70 black men together to call a citywide gangs truce to Untouchable Chicago Peace Initiative. And yesterday we rolled up with about 30 guys with the police department and protected our children. So there is a rise in what she's saying. We just got to be moving and take care, and at the same time, rep for it, get our tax dollars because they do supposed to protect us with the money we pay.
That's right. Thank you, Brother Revin. Winters, you want to give us a closing?
Yeah, first of all, I have an appreciation for you all inviting me on here, and I really appreciate the fact some of the comments and questions as well. And again, having grown up in the neighborhood, I've seen it. I've experienced a lot of these things firsthand, but, it did me a lot of good. And I did a lot of good for the community when I was on the police department because I could relate to some of the challenges that existed there. And so as we all continue this big fight for equality and the legal system, I think more folks coming together, identifying what you want your leadership to look like. Only then will things change the way that you want them to.
Thank you so much, brother. Eddie Winters, thank you for being our guest. And I would tell you, when I hear people talk about we need to do more, and we talk about COBRA, we talk about FOP, we talk about all those, but there are always non-for-profits. You could create a non-for-profit and people could call you and you can help them deal with these cases. You could go directly to COPA. So start a foundation and be involved and say, I'm going to go out and I'm going to raise money because I want people to come to my agency and report these crimes, and I'm going to go straight to the FOP. I'm going to go straight to the COPA. I'm going to go to the mayor's office, my alderman, and make those cases with you. Meleika, you got a closing? How many more minutes we got? All right, go ahead.
All right. My closing is there are people out there taking action. They need more support if there's power in numbers. And I am all for good police officers continuing to report the bad police officers.
Go out there with your bad self, you black lady, you.
Thank you,
Have
Eddie.
a
Thank
good
you.
one. This has been Chicago Hill. Have a good day.